Well friends, today we are going to discuss in this chapter about a special services called debt instruments and GSEC or called government securities. I am Sudhir Savkar from CDSL. This is a topic which the government also wants to give importance. You know that BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange, was established in 1875 and the equity culture is there since then, maybe last 137 plus years. But there is another segment which is equally important, that is called debt segment. When you want to raise, you means any company or any institution or even the government, they want to raise money for various reasons, particularly for their projects or meeting big expenditure. First they will go to banks, but banks there is a limit for raising. A bank, however big a customer may be, he cannot give more than X amount, but somebody wants a very big amount, then he has to go to capital market. Fortunately we have BSE, NSE exchanges in Mumbai, and here we see that equity is there, but in equity there is ownership. So many times people do not want to dilute ownership. So what is the other way around? Or sometimes a new person, he may not be known or may not be a well known face for the capital market, and so he needs money, so he goes for the other route, that is called a debt route. Or third thing, you do not want to have a permanent liability, so another route is debt instrument which has a limited life. So your liability also for servicing is limited. So here there are two distinct routes. One is debt instruments. As a part of that you can say, but although we call it a part, it is a bigger part, that is called government securities. So debt securities, also known as debt instrument, is an agreement. The moment suppose somebody wants to buy or borrow, there is a borrower and a lender, first they would enter into agreement. Now this agreement will be stipulating the repayment of loan, the interest therefore, the period for which the amount is given, how it is to be serviced, and the security if any. All loans may not be secured, but if there is security, and the redressal. So all those things, so there is an agreement. And as I told you, debt instruments has a limited life. It may be short term loan to long term loans like 30 years, even 50 years. So depending upon the features like the issuer, tenure. Issuer means it could be a company, corporate, even the government. Tenure may be short tenure, the period. Tenure is a period. Short term, medium term, long term, very long term. Interest rate, again interest rate could be fixed, fluctuating or floating rate they call it. These debt instruments can be classed, or they are popularly known as bond, debentures, commercial papers, government securities, treasury bills. So they are known by different names, but basically they are all forming, somebody is borrowing, somebody is lending, and that agreement is formally recorded agreement. Financial institutions, corporate bodies, they issue bonds, debentures, commercial papers, whereas government securities, as the very name says, who can issue that? Government. Government may be central government or state government, and that is called sovereign risk. What is sovereign risk? Sovereign is sarvabhaum, the king cannot fail, the state will not fail. See, a company may fail in meeting the obligation, but a state does not fail. That is the understanding. So this is called sovereign risk. So government securities or treasury bills is one side and a very large portion. Now anybody who wants to issue any instrument, he has to go to the issuer has to first, as my previous speaker has said, they have to go to depository, because now most of the instruments are issued in demat mode. So a tripartite agreement, issuer is there, he has to have a RTA, registered transfer agent, and third thing is the depository. So tripartite agreement is signed. Each debt security is given a distinct number called ISIN number, International Securities Identification Number, and it is linked to the special features. What are the special features? And once admitted this into depository system, then people can hold it in demat account. It can be issued in demat account, service in demat or electronic mode. Now ISIN is a small number compare, but there are so many other, because the features may be varied and having long term also and very many features. So along with the ISIN there is the instrument descriptor. So date instruments are differentiated. Now what is the thing? One is the coupon rate. What is coupon rate? See, here a lot of jargons are used, but don't get disheartened. Coupon is only the interest rate. It could be interest free also, or whatever may be interest rate. Redemption date. What is redemption? Nothing. It is the repayment date, when it is to be repaid. Now again there are two. One is, if you go to American system, there is a bullet payment and balloon payment. Bullet means monthly payment, 6 monthly, quarterly installment. Balloon is a big, at one time interest and principal is repaid, called bullet payment, balloon payment. Then put and call option. What is put and call option? That is, the right to repay early, or right to demand repayment early. That is the, so those dates also differ. Interest repayment schedule also differs. And then another, as I said, secured or unsecured. Everybody would like to go for secured, but there are times when unsecured loans are also given or taken. So because of that, the instrument descriptor, first thing, it has to have the name of the issuer, coupon or interest rate, security, what is that, security name, redemption date, and face value. Face value also depends, in equity share, earlier India has to have 100 rupees face value, then it is reduced to 10 rupees. But there again equity, it is in different face value. Here we see CP, CDs, they come with very huge face value, high at 1 lakh, 5 lakh also. So this face value has to be taken into consideration. So descriptor says, for example, now in this description what you are seeing, ICICI Bank Limited, SRB 98, 14.25 UMD, 14 Feb 05, FVRS, that is face value rupees 1 lakh, indicates, what it indicates? Issuer name, of course ICICI Bank, coupon rate is rate of interest 14.25%, instrument name is series B98 UMD. Now this one company, one corporate may come with lot of series, because it may be one borrowing or more than one, each one. Redemption date is the date on which it is to be liquidated, and then face value, here it is 1 lakh rupees. Now what happens? Instrument descriptor, first in case of debenture, now you take what is debenture? It's like bond debenture, but debentures are under an agreement, and there is a big procedure is followed for that, some trust is created. So here first the issuer company allots, somebody says I want it, but taking complete, after receipt of money, completing those formalities for creation, that trust or something, debenture trust, it takes time. So initially letter of allotment, LOA, is given to the investor, and then it is replaced with the actually non-convertible debenture or convertible debentures. So in this case, descriptor for LOA, ISIN is known as KMPL 9.5, LOA 29 December 05, if face value rupees 1 is changed. After that, the moment the NCD is issued, the debenture is issued, that word LOA is replaced as KMPL 9.5, NCD is what? Non-convertible debentures, 29 December, that date remains same, and what is said, face value rupees 1 lakh, and then usko, something is added, that LOA up to 23rd March. That means for this issue up to 23rd March, LOA was valid and it is converted into. Subsequently, suppose somebody says give me LOA and give me that money, he says no, it is converted. So entire thing is available at a one time. Now time value of money, what is time value? Anything, as has time value, but in case of date instrument it is all the more important because they bear interest. Suppose you are making 1 day interest repayment 1 day earlier or 1 day later, and the amount is some in crores, it makes a lot of difference. So time value of money has to be taken into consideration, and that's why that redemption date is important. On redemption, ISIN associated with instrument is deactivated. I told you it's a limited life thing, it's not like equity shares. So on that day, once the repayment is made or whatever that, on that day through a corporate action, that ISIN is deactivated. Call and put option. No, these are also big names, but meaning is very simple. What is call option? Issuer can repay debt before the final redemption date. The procedure is the same as normal redemption. Now, why you will say, what is this repaying debt before final redemption? Why should anybody who has borrowed would like to repay earlier? But now you know, right now in India, there is high rate of interest. Even everybody is telling RBI, you cut the rate of interest, cut the rate of interest. Now, at this point of time, all those issuers who have issued the instruments, they are issued naturally at a higher rate. If they have put a condition that call option, then when the rate of interest, suppose from 10% becomes 8 or 7.5 or 6%, and it's a 10-year instrument, then they can one day give a notice that okay, we exercise our right and call option and we are repaying all you. So on that day they will repay, and the person who has invested cannot save us because he has agreed to that. As against that, suppose today somebody has invested at same 10% and inflationary pressures are more and it becomes say 14 or 15%. He says, why should I get stuck up with this 10% instrument? Then he says, I have got put option. I will demand repayment now and invest in some higher, high yielding or, security giving better returns. So this is, put and call option, and that's why we say that these rates are, or this option and then those dates, if they are agreed into agreement, they are forming a part of the descriptor. Now here, as I mentioned to you, people would naturally go to bank, but bank has a limit of giving money. They have got some so many limits they have, and there was a time in India when banks were giving money at 18%, 21%. So big companies, particularly the AAA rated, they felt that why should I, all companies are getting at the same rate, I should get something at a, which is, as per my standards. So they approach, and they were given permission to approach market directly. Of course, there is a procedure for that. They have to go for credit rating also. But then they went to the companies, directly approached the investors, and then they were surprised that instead of 18%, they could get at 15, 10, and thereafter 8% also. Now, interest forms a part of the cost of production, major part. So, when there was a time when Japan had 3% rate of interest and India has 18%. Naturally, Japanese exports are more, and today you see our exports are more because the rate of interest, a big component, is much less. Friends, certificate of deposit, what is CD? Investors are holding CDs in a separate account. Now, who is issuing this? They are issued by banks and financial institutions. So, minimum size is 1 lakh. Earlier, only select few used to hold this, but now these instruments are very popular in fundraising. Dematerialization of CDs. Procedure for dematerialization of CDs is same or similar to the equities. Redemption, what is important is what is redemption, how to get repayment. We must know what the exit route is. Issuer has to open redemption account with depository participant because it is in electronic mode. Now, in this case, simple, what is important or what you must as an investor or an investor has to remember that it has to be given 2 days in advance, the instruct, because the amounts are huge. So, the person raising funds should know whom to repay, what is the, and that's why the time given is 3 p.m. 2 days before the maturity date, and that maturity date, so issuer's redemption account is, by using a DIS, the securities are transferred to, the CD is transferred to that issuer's redemption account. On citing the securities in the redemption account, issuer will initiate steps to repay, and what will do? They will pay to the BO on the that stipulated date. Redemption account opened by issuer will be same for all CDs. When the person is issuing CDs, it is for all. So that means, most of the investors also regular, they know where to approach, and it's a set procedure. As per FIMDA guidelines, the issuer will provide details of the redemption account in the form of a certificate to the first investor. Friends, there is, at least I have heard from many of the people who have appeared for exam that this question had come. So why this? What is FIMDA and what is this first investor? FIMDA is nothing but FIMMDA, FI finance, this fixed instruments, money market, and derivatives association of India. It's a a body which decides all the ground rules for, and all market participants are members of FIMDA. So they say that when one person has invested, they will tell him, okay, these are the, and when he is selling it to somebody, he is supposed to pass it on to the next person. So first investment is important. As per, this is very important, as per RBI monetary credit policy of 2002 and 3, effective June 38, 2002, banks and FIs required to issue CDs only in demat mode. So what procedure I told about the demat, you will be hardly using it, because now last almost 11 years everything is in demat mode. Even the existing what was required to be was to be dematted, and most of the things are already dematted. Now this date 30th June 2002 you have to remember for CD, because CP there is another date and you may get a question, please remember these dates. Now I was telling you about commercial paper. What is commercial paper? Commercial paper also is a form of borrowing like CD. Now CD is used by banks and financial institutions. CP, commercial paper, is issued by companies. Now why companies should issue that? Good old days, India was having a very high interest rate regime, and big companies and small companies, when they used to, because they used to go to banks used to write 18 to 20% or 24% sometimes. Over a period of time, if they would go to financial institutions, again the rate of interest was high. But when some of the people, when they approached market, they found that they were able to get, because of their high credit rating, they were able to get money at a cheaper rate, and cheaper rate means lower cost of production, lower selling price, higher exports and higher profit, you can say. And because of that, commercial paper, but to protect the interest of the investor, they were told issuer company has to go for credit rating. Now ICRA, CRISIL, all those credit rating agencies are there. There again I will tell you friends, AAA, AA, different credit rating agencies have different criteria and rating may be different. Here the face value of commercial paper is important from the point of view of exam. It is 5 lakh rupees and multiples of 5 lakhs. In CDs we have seen it was 1 lakh, it is here 5 lakh. Now here dematerialization of CPs. For demat of CPs, client has to submit CP along with demat request form. Only those commercial papers which are admitted, they can demat. Here it is for the issuer to admit, and it is for the holder to request the issuer to get it admitted. If there are still some, but there won't be many. Allotment of commercial paper can be made directly in the demat form into credit account. That is, now here dematerialization form, investor will have to provide demat account number along with DPID. In case of CDSL, 16-digit account, so everything is in one account, you get one number. Issuer will provide these details to issuing and paying agent. Normally we know RTA, register and transfer agent. Here, since it is something different, it is important from the examination point of view, and that is called issuing and paying agent, IPA. It is not IPO, IPA. The issuer will provide details of IPA certificate and other document required by depositor to create the IPS CP allotment account. See, what is CP allotment account? A person will make payment to this IPA, and he will get the credit in his demat account of the CP, and that too 1 day prior to value date. And here remember, the amounts are in big numbers or the amount is huge, so that 1 day difference will make a big difference. So you have to be very particular. So 1 day prior to that value date you have to do that. On the allotment date, IPA can transfer the securities from its allotment account to subscriber's account by a transfer. Now here you see there is a chart or how it is given. The flow is very simple, like normal demat. BO, he gives BO details to the issuer. Naturally, issuer gives BO details to issuing and paying agent, because ultimately it is outsourced to him. So what he will do, issuer simultaneously will tell depository, because there is a tripartite agreement, he says IPA certificate details and 1 day before the allotted date. So these details are given to depository also. Depository credits IPS CP allotment account with those certificates, those many securities, and on allotment day BO account is created. Funds are already received, so funds are out of the depository system. Redemption of CP. Now for getting repayment of CP, again there is a huge amount involved. So what they do, BO before 3 p.m. 1 day before the maturity date. In case of CD it was 2 days, here it is 1 day. BO whom he will say IPS redemption account, what he will try? Now he wants money, so he will return that security. So he will tell his DP, please transfer to IPS redemption account. Confirmation, IPO gives confirmation to share registrar that the balance, okay, I have received this, clear balance is there, and balance in redemption account is extinguished. See, these debt instruments have limited life. So it cannot be perpetual. So on that day by corporate action that is extinguished, and IPA through his bank make payment on the due date to BO account. So circle is complete. Commercial paper, here again everything was in physical mode earlier. So as early as policy, credit policy for 2001 and 2, earlier it was 2 and 3, this policy for the year 2001 and 2, effective 30th June 2001, banks, financial institutions, primary dealers and satellite dealers. What is primary dealer? Primary dealers means government securities. To popularize government securities, an institution was floated by RBI, and 20 nationalized banks and 20 financial institutions, STCI, Securities Trading Corporation, and 16 others, So they were major players, and then satellite dealers were there. So these people were permitted to make fresh investment and only CPs in demat mode, and that too from October 2001. So now everything is in demat mode. Now let us move to the next segment. As I mentioned, it's also debt instruments, but a major market in India, government securities is occupying a special place. What is government securities? As the name very suggests, securities issued or created by central or state government and by raising a public loan. Now government, in case of corporates, government and individuals, there is a small difference. Government sometimes spends first and then gets the money. Now a bridge is to be constructed, a dam is to be constructed, some calamity happens, they need immediate money, and that money they have to get recouped. So they have an arrangement with RBI for overdraft, but it is not a healthy sign, so that is not taken care. But now take a case, for example, some big expenditure government wants to do on 1st of March. 1st March they have to make a big expenditure they have to do. Now if they issue 20 or 30 years bond, suppose amount is say 1000 crores or 5000 crores or 3000 crores, that much amount, suppose they can issue, and people will gladly subscribe to that. But then government, the finance minister, he will advise that okay, 15th March is the date for advance payment, advance tax. So naturally government is going to give big amount. So what they will do, instead of going for a long term instrument, they will issue, instead of government security, treasury bills, a 14-day instrument, 14-day, 91 days, like that. So that day when money comes, that will be repaid immediately. So government securities again are of two types. What are the two types? They are known as dated securities, which have maturity of more than 1 year, dated, and then treasury bills have maturity period of up to 1 year, less than 364 days, 14 days, 91 days, but less than 1 year. All activities related, now in this case, RBI takes care of issuance and servicing of government securities through public debt office, PDO is the public debt office. Now here, earlier, like capital market, RBI also, everything, or finance ministry, all the records were in physical mode. So there used to be a ledger and subsidiary general ledger, SGL, and that name, because it is so popular and now coined, so it has become SGL account. So investors have to open option to subscribe to this securities issued by government, either in physical or electronic form, but now popular will be electronic. Since provision is there, let us discuss both. Now SGL is opened directly with RBI. Now all banks, nationalized, private, that banking, they receive deposits, give advances, but they are required to maintain SLR and CRR. What is SLR? Statutory liquidity ratio. So 25% or more, as per what government says, that amount has to be invested in government securities. So these government securities are issued. Now this money is parked and these certificates are issued, or this government securities are parked in SGL account, subsidiary general ledger account. Now there are two SGL facilities. You will see one is for own investment owned by bank itself, or CDSL. We also have a SGL account. So CDSL's own investment in government securities will be in SGL 1 account. But we are all working for our investors. Now some investor also wants to invest in government securities. CDSL provides, or depositories provide this facility. Now what happens? But to keep our own money and public money investment separately, SGL 2 account is kept. So it is known as CSGL account. C is customer or constituents. Constituents SGL account, CSGL account. So two accounts. Now in client, suppose transferring GSEC in SGL form to demat account. Somebody is holding this and he wants to transfer to demat account. He has to give three documents. One is DRF GS. DRF is demat request form. You want to transfer, equity share, debenture, or whatever. Like that, a special form is called GS. GS is DRF, GS is government securities. SGL credit advice. Now whatever, see, in case of banks, I have bank credits interest 1000 rupees in my account. So in that case, bank's advice is final. What entry I am passing in my book is shadow account. Like whatever CDSL may pass some entry, but entry passed by RBI is the main entry. So SGL credit advice that RBI has given credit to you, and request letter for value free transfer. What is value free transfer? See, it is your own money. You are dematting your own government securities in your own demat account. But every transfer has to have a consideration. Every transaction needs consideration, otherwise it is not a valid transfer. So you tell RBI that it is my own money, I am putting in my own. So it is value free transfer. That request the customer gives, investor. DP does the initial scrutiny and verification of documents. Now friends, in this entire GSEC business, depositories are playing the role of RTA. RTA, self-appointed RTA, RBI. Now when new government security is issued, it is for depository to create an ISIN. RBI doesn't give ISIN, it is for depositories to create. Like that, initial scrutiny and verification has to be done by the DP because he is dealing with the customers. RBI will not register transfer of securities during the shut period. Now what is shut period? Book closure, as we say, in popular language we say book closure, same is known in RBI language as shut period. During that time, demat request, if already received, will take longer time. And a question normally I have seen coming about the shut period. Demat of GSEC. Now when you are sending any your own securities for demat, DP puts a stamp. What is that? Submitted for demat. Here they say tender for cancellation and credit to SGL account. Because in case of equity shares or other instruments, demat is they are destroyed. In this case, RBI will take it, they will cancel, and it is SGL account number. Now what SGL account will be here is the customers. If you are giving to CDSL, it is SGL account 1, it has to be SGL account 2, constituents SGL account, and that number, because CDSL will write that number. So it is for DP will take that, they will send it to CDSL, and then that part customer doesn't know, that we have to take care of that. And Mumbai, why Mumbai? There are 16 PDOs. So Mumbai, we are in Mumbai, RBI is Mumbai, so Mumbai. DP does not punch holes. Normally in case of demat you have to punch 2 holes on the top, we call it mutilation. RBI says no mutilation. You don't, so that is first care. So if you are working in that section, first thing your boss will say, Baba, don't put any holes in this thing. DP should dispatch certificate and DRF GS to depository within 7 days. 7 days, for all demat is as such 7 days. Depository fills in, signs relevant portion of form of transfer and submit to RBI for credit to SGL2 account. Because certain portion only depository knows what to fill up. So there is a GSEC sale in depository. So they take care of this. So from DP it comes and it is. So RBI gives to RBI, depository submits to RBI, and SGL2 account of the repository. On receiving necessary confirmation, what is the confirmation? That account, this is done, and how confirmation will come? There will be a credit into SGL2 account, a credit advice, credit SGL, and then that is it shows, or the repository can download that, but once they see credit, depository confirms acceptance of request for the demat, then they will complete that demat in that our system. DP informs the client of the change in the client account. What is the change in client? That your account is credited. It's a simple process, it is like that, but only thing what you have to say, no two holes, and normally what you say, and RBI has, there is a slide on that, RBI says don't put these stamps at odd places, they should be able to see what is written because huge amounts are involved. Now here, remat of government securities. What is remat? Somebody has holding in demat mode, he wants this in the securities form. So BO, now let us see, there is a flow, it's very simple, it's all logical. Remat request is given. Now here instead of DRF it is RRF, remat request form GS, GS is the suffix. BO naturally gives to DP, DP intimate to electronically to, they will feed into the system and then they will get a RRN number. Then what happens? Depository, this 7 days time is there, here again 7 days. So DP, now depository what happens? When somebody wants to block, remat anything, he cannot be very smart. So what, to avoid any duplication, first thing that balance is blocked in the account. So blocking, so first thing depository does is blocking the amount, and then what they will do, that form of transfer is naturally given to whom? PDO, RBI. So it goes to RBI. What RBI will do? They will issue physical certificate. So they will see, okay, and that physical certificate they will send to whom? They will send to the BO. If request for transfer to SGL account is, if he wants it to be credited to the account, then depository will confirm acceptance of RRF. That, these are technical things. On receipt of such confirmation from RBI, depository removes balance, that means through a corporate action that balance is extinguished, and then DP informs, that means the statement of account is sent to him, and instead of physical it is. Now objection, suppose there is some objection, some mismatch is there, and there is a question on this. Who is supposed to do that? What is the first point of contact? DP. So DP has to do that. Okay, so DP, instead of mismatch, depository's GSEC cell will send later fax to DP intimating them about a mismatch. Either depository, DP sale might have, or RBI would have said, Baba, ye barabar nahi hai, and DP has to resolve the mismatch. Friends, that brings us to the end of this very, very important topic of government securities. People feel it is difficult, it is not difficult. What you have to remember, two concepts. SGL1 is for own, Bank of India or whosoever or CDSL, our own investment, and whatever you do for, because we are all working for the investors. So whatever investor does will be always reflecting in SGL2. If you remember this, you cannot make a mistake. Well friends, that brings us to the end of chapter 11 on government securities and debt instruments. I am thankful to you for the patient listening. Any questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
What is the minimum subscription amount in case of certificate of deposits and commercial papers?
Yeah. For certificate of deposit it is 1 lakh rupees and CP, commercial paper, is 5 lakh rupees.
And I have one more question, sir. Is there any period under which RBI doesn't register transfer of securities?
Yeah, that there is a period called shut period. It is announced in advance, and during the, because as I told you, it is like book closure.
Okay.
So shut period is the correct answer. And there is, I have found that there are usually questions on both the, I am happy that you asked this question.
Thank you.
Both these, topics, there are questions in past. So my only request to all of you is to read it carefully. Friends, you are reading it. What is required is more careful reading, because in question exam there may be multiple questions and with small difference here and there. So please read it carefully. Thank you, friends.